They've wanted to arrest Trump from the very beginning. They've wanted to. The Democrats have hoped to use the law as a tool, as a weapon against their political opponent all along. This has always been the plan. I will never forget, right after Trump's 2016 election, I was living in the Flatiron district of New York City, and there were angry mobs marching through the streets, you know, in the tradition of the Jacobins during the French Revolution, you know, screaming, "Not my president, not my president." To which I really wanted to tell them, untrue. He is, in fact, your president. You could not like that, but he is, in fact, the president. So he's going to be, at that point, he was going to be. He hadn't yet been sworn in. But they have never given this up. They had the Russia collusion lie, the most sophisticated, most extensive, dirty trick, I think, ever done in modern politics in America. I don't think anything really can line up the same way that the Russia collusion media and FBI and intelligence community and DOJ all working together on a fabrication, a total fabrication. There was no Russia collusion, didn't exist. And yet how many times was it spoken about? It was the number one news story in America in Democrat-aligned media, and really in conservative media too, because we were being forced to play defense on it. Number one news story in America for 3 years, total fabrication. But why don't you trust the media? Well, gee, I don't know. Maybe stuff like that makes me think they're not that trustworthy. So then we have a series of other, I mean, I think it's just important to get some of the context here of what has happened. A series of other criminal possible indictments against Donald Trump, all kinds of investigations. I may forget some, by the way. So I can't even do them all off the top of my head, and I do this for a living. There was, of course, Russia collusion. There was obstruction of justice with regard to Russia collusion. There was the Ukraine phone call, which they said, well, certainly they impeached him for it, and you know that was abuse of power. There was the emoluments clause, the foreign diplomats eating cheeseburgers in Trump Hotel to buy U.S. foreign policy. Just go back. You'll see this in the Washington Post. Complete lunacy. The tax stuff. Remember Rachel Maddow could get, it was really pathetic. I actually think it's sad. She could get the biggest numbers ever at MSNBC by just saying, oh, I don't know. I think we're going to have the Trump tax returns. Remember that? Oh, we've got a page of the Trump tax returns. You know what was in the tax returns? Nothing. It was a stupid theory in the first place. The federal government, the IRS, has the tax returns. It was really as though the libs had convinced themselves that somewhere there was going to be a note from Vladimir to Donald. Thank you for helping me with the Russia collusion, steal 2016 election. It doesn't work that way, okay? Putin wasn't going to have a little love note for Russia collusion in the tax returns. That's crazy time, but how many of them believed it? Millions and millions and millions of Democrats. And then, of course, you had the Republican turncoats who didn't get on the Trump train, refused even in the general election to get on the Trump train. And so then being a conservative meant do everything you can to tear down Trump and the Republican Party and conservatism. And then they just went all the way around and turned into full-blown Democrats who now go on TV for the amusement of Democrats. Well, speaking as a real Republican, I just think the transgender story hour for teenagers or for little kids, I think that's conservatism. That's the heart of the Constitution. This is what they do. These fake Republicans, they go on TV for the amusement of Democrats. They go on TV and they trash Republicans. So that's all just necessary backstory for where we are right now. Bring you in to the current moment. New York's ring of steel for Trump's looming arrest. This on the Daily Mail. Cops set up barriers after former president posed for selfies with fans at Mar-a-Lago sports cars and yacht parties. So basically, New York police are putting barriers up around the Manhattan court complex because it is believed that Trump will be arrested tomorrow. That has been reported all over the place. Okay, this is what is being said. Now, I do know from sources of mine, including former NYPD sources, that this is a real conversation that is actually happening inside the offices of the district attorney for Manhattan, Bragg. That this isn't a full blown. This is not a false alarm. This could really happen. And Trump was, as you can imagine, very fired up on Truth Social over the weekend about this. That the lead prosecutor for the corrupt Manhattan DA's office worked as a lawyer for crooked Hillary Clinton and her law firm, left this Democrat firm with others to volunteer to get Donald Trump at the DA's office for free. This is from Trump's Truth Social. He quit in a huff when DA Bragg said there was no case here. He then unethically and illegally wrote and published a book about the case and what is going on. This is unheard of stuff. I mean, there's so much from Trump over the weekend. They are many years beyond the statute of limitations, which is 2 years. More importantly, there was no crime. And then this is the big one. It is the district attorney of Manhattan who is breaking the law by using the fake and fully discredited testimony, even by the Southern District of New York, of a convicted liar, felon, and jailbird, Michael Cohen, to incredibly persecute, prosecute, and indict a former president and now leading by far, of course, Trump, presidential candidate for a crime that doesn't exist. Alvin Bragg should be held accountable for the crime of interference in a presidential election. I think that's really what you have to keep in mind here. Is there a way that the office of a prosecutor could be more perverted for political purposes than to have a district attorney, so a city level employee of the state of New York, bring a prosecution that should be by all accounts a misdemeanor at worst? It is not even a crime. He has decided to come up with some legal theory to elevate the non-crime that at worst would be a misdemeanor, which is like a parking ticket, basically. It's not, it's a little worse than that, but to a felony, which is completely insane. But you see, there's an important reason why this is happening for the Democrats. And this is why I think it's possible that this goes even with this is of all the cases brought against Trump, of all the allegations, and this one is in some ways the flimsiest and the craziest, which is saying a lot, because no one cares. There's no victim here. All right. They're talking about a payoff to Stormy Daniels, who I believe lost a defamation suit against Trump and had to pay him, or pay his legal fees at least. So you have a Stormy Daniels payoff from years ago. Who exactly is the victim? How is justice served by this notion of a prosecution of Donald Trump over this? Because, if people had known about this on his return, or on his, not his return, his statement for the what do you call it? His campaign finance. There you go. I was trying to think of it. Sorry. Then they would have turned on Trump? They would have turned on Trump? I don't think so. It's crazy. The whole thing makes no sense, except, and our friend Andy McCarthy, former federal prosecutor of the Southern District, said it. We'll come back to this. What is the one thing that this will do possibly that I think people aren't really looking closely enough at as a possibility that then could cause a whole range of issues? What does it do? What does it change?